Chad Gable, an Olympic athlete, one of WWE's most gifted technicians, a tag team specialist, and somehow one of WWE's most consistent underachievers. Not because he lacks the talent, but because WWE never knew what they truly had with him. Hola everyone, my name is Nando. I make a video every single week and I'm pretty sick, folks, and we're here to dive into the most unfortunate roller coaster ride that you've ever been on before. A ride that from a glance looks like it has potential to be something great, but once you see how the ride starts and ends, you just leave the ride going, wow. Well, that was disappointing. And that can pretty much sum up the entire career of Chad Gable. Let's get into it. It all started in 2015 when Jason Jordan teamed together with a man named Sylvester Lafort, but unfortunately they suffered a tag loss to Enzo Amore and Big Cass. Jordan spoke about his frustrations backstage, and that's when Chad Gable interrupted him, suggesting that they should work together. Jordan tried denying him a couple of times, but then he would have finally agreed to tagging with him. They won a couple matches together, even making it to the semi-finals of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Classic, before unfortunately losing to Baron Corbin and Rhino. Yeah, Baron Corbin and Rhino were a tag team for this tournament. NXT was truly something around that time, and thus they started being former NXT tag team champions like The Ascension, Blake and Murphy, even earning an opportunity to face the NXT tag champs by being the Vaudevillains. So then at NXT TakeOver Dallas, American Alpha managed to beat the Revival and become the NXT tag team champions. Yo, let's go! I'm so proud of these guys. American Alpha absolutely deserved this moment. They were a great tag team with such great momentum. I truly wonder as to where this tag team reign will go. They lost it back to the Revival 2 months later in their very first defense. Damn it. But it's okay, because with their great progress, WWE felt it was time for them to make it to the main roster. It's 2016 and American Alpha got drafted to SmackDown and were already a fan favorite in the audience, because I know this is hard to believe, but in 2016, we were living in a time where the WWE audience actually popped for the new NXT guys that would come to the main roster because they actually easily recognize them. While in current day, even though it seems like NXT is getting more recognized and popular, the current WWE audience would just mostly drop in silence. Dead silence whenever they would appear. But when American Alpha debuted, SmackDown Live just became its own show as the brand split came back. So with that, the show had to introduce its own SmackDown Tag Team Champions. They held up a little tournament, succeeding in the first round, but when they were set to face the Usos in the second round, the Usos were out of focus for the match, which led to the Usos losing to American Alpha in just 28 seconds. Holy crap! The Usos were so frustrated by the loss that they were just like, screw it, we ball!
Let's go!
And so they officially turned heel on them, which is a crazy phenomenon because this heel turn actually elevated the Usos in being the best top tag team in WWE history. They were quite stale during this time and needed an elevation. This heel turn quickly got them to being the top dogs to the tag division in general. So, thanks American Alpha! But due to the Usos injuring Chad Gable's leg, it led to the Usos stealing the opportunity to go into the finals, to which the Usos lost either way. Karma! American Alpha went on to have another rematch against the Usos for an opportunity for the tag titles, but this time the Usos got away with the win. They then got invited to be in the 20-man Raw vs SmackDown Tag Team Survivor Series match, got one elimination, then Chad Gable took a dive towards the whole roster of tag teams and somehow only managed to just hit Heath Slater and nobody else. And then the club quickly took out Jason Jordan to eliminate them both off the match. They got another tag title opportunity to face the Wyatt family members of Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton. Yes, Randy Orton was part of the Wyatt family. I know that's hard to believe, but trust me, this was weird, but it was also one of the best stories that came in 2016. Trust me, it was good. The ending was just bad. So the Wyatt family beat American Alpha and went on to win the tag team champions at TLC. But then just 23 days later, the Wyatt family defended their tag titles in a 4-way elimination match against Heath Slater and Rhino, Usos, and American Alpha. The Usos eliminated Heath and Rhino, and then American Alpha eliminated the Usos with a devastating roll-up, and then American Alpha went on to have Chad Gable pin Randy Orton to become the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. That is insane! They've been on SmackDown for just a cup of tea, and they've been consistently getting opportunities, having a rivalry with the Usos, and then going on to beat Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt to become the Tag Team Champions. What an insane accomplishment to have. Good for them. They went on to have 2 title defenses, one of which had Chad pinning Randy Orton again, but then later they went to drop the tag titles to the Usos. Chad Gable then went on to have his first ever WrestleMania match, and it was the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Sure. He did pretty good overall. I mean, he got like 4 eliminations if you're counting him eliminating Braun Strowman with everyone. But then he got eliminated like it was nothing, so like, who cares? Then it was the Superstar Shakeup, which is like a very small WWE draft. American Alpha went on to have their last tag match together in a losing effort in trying to take the tag titles off of the Usos, which led to Jason Jordan being drafted to Raw while Chad stayed on SmackDown, which gave him a little solo run. He answered Kevin Owens' US Open Challenge in the hopes of being US Champion. He fought hard but lost in a good effort. Then Chad had a match against AJ Styles, which is a qualifying match for and checks notes, the Independence Day Battle Royal for the United States Champion. Well, okay then. Chad Gable was freaking awesome in this match. Though he lost in the end, you can just tell he has the shades of Kurt Angle showing throughout this match. This is your next Kurt Angle that should be propelled to the next level and made into a future star. But with the US title being busy with AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, what is left for Chad Gable to do? Well, let's just put him in another tag team, I guess. And for that, they had Chad Gable be paired up with the newly returned Shelton Benjamin. Oh, okay. That's pretty great. This could be like the new version of the world's greatest tag team. A tag team that Shelton Benjamin and Kurt Angle was in. This is a beautiful start for Chad Gable. Just think of what they could do together in this current day roster. They did nothing together. Nothing. Forgettable as is. I mean, sure, they had a back and forth with trying to get the tag titles, but they were never successful in winning it. Even the one time where it seemed like they did win the tag titles by pinning the Usos, turns out the referee, as blind as they are, was able to recognize that they pinned the wrong Uso, which led to Chad and Shelton turning heel because they were that salty about the referee. So Daniel Bryan, who was the SmackDown GM at the time, booked a tag title rematch between them and the Usos in a 2 out of 3 falls match at the Royal Rumble. A match that was so tragic to watch because Chad and Shelton lost to the Usos at 2-0. 2-0! That is so rare to witness that happen for a 2 out of 3 falls match. What a shame. So now you're just asking yourself, if you're putting Gable in a tag team again just months after losing Jason Jordan, why couldn't you have just kept American Alpha together? Well, my friends, it was because Jason Jordan was busy trying to find his own true family. That's right, folks, you should know where this is headed. Jason Jordan got drafted to Raw to create a storyline where he was Kurt Angle's son. What the hell? First off, what? Second off, huh? Third off, no, what is this? A stupid storyline that was given to the wrong person. Why was Jason given the role and not Chad? Chad Gable and Kurt Angle are both Olympians. Jordan is not. Chad Gable literally adapts a moveset that is similar to Kurt's. They both even do moonsaults. This is literally such cookie cutter, as basic as it gets. Chad Gable should have been the son, as weird as that sounds. Like it generally would have had fans going, look, I know wrestling is scripted, but I could believe this. And of course the storyline didn't work because they forced Jason Jordan up the card. He was a good wrestler, but he wasn't that good with promos. Fans even started booing him because they were that sick of him, and apparently that kind of heat from the crowd was leaning towards a match where Jason would face Kurt Angle. But unfortunately, it never happened due to Jason Jordan suffering a neck injury that was just too serious for him to continue in the ring, ending Jason's run in WWE and wrestling entirely. Which is a sad end to his wrestling journey, but it's all good in the end as he slowly transitioned into a producer role behind the scenes in WWE. So like, good for him. Anyways, back to Chad. Then came the Superstar Shakeup. Chad Gable was drafted to Raw while Shelton stayed on SmackDown, breaking up the team entirely. Chad Gable would then spend the next 5 months doing nothing, mostly just doing things in the under mid card. He turned babyface and just mostly appeared on WWE Main Event. Gross, remember that show? And so we got all the writers together like, we got a guy like Chad Gable. He's athletic, great in the ring, shows you so many shades of Kurt Angle in him. My lord, just what could we ever do with this? Oh my god. My god. What if he was in another tag team? Here comes the tag team of Chad Gable and Bobby Roode, who formed together as a tag team because their tag team was just fine, I guess. They wore matching robes together, which was fine, I guess. They then got into the 2018 Survivor Series 20-man tag match. This time, this match happened in the kickoff. Such a shame. Now before we get into this, let's compare the teams. This is SmackDown's team, and just wow, they've got the New Day, Usos, the Club on their side. Some established names over here, okay? Okay? What about Raw? Oh. Well then, with this comparison, would you be shocked if I told you that SmackDown won this one? Gable and Rude were the team captains of Raw and also became the first ones to eliminate SmackDown's first team of Sanity. All the jobbers got eliminated and it led to the New Day, the Usos, the Revival, and Gable and Rude to just go, screw this, we're gonna have a good match even when nobody cares. All three teams had a banger 3 minutes with each other, and Chad Gable actually managed to hit the right people this time. But New Day got them eliminated. They went on to have a feud with the Raw Tag Team Champions, the AOP, and on their first attempt they lost because the AOP's manager Drake Maverick took Bobby Roode's robe to piss on it in the bathroom. Ugh, 2018 Raw. It was so terrible. But in their second attempt, Chad and Rude got a shot at the tag titles, but at this time it became a 2-on-3 handicap match because they wanted to include Drake Maverick. I don't know, for some reason. But then the match led to Chad and Rude winning the tag titles. Let's go! And then you remember that they pinned the guy that wasn't even the champion. This tag division sucks. But nevertheless, they are tag team champions, which made Chad the second man to win the NXT, SmackDown, and Raw tag team champions. And who was the first one? Well, crazy enough to believe, but it was Jason Jordan, as he went on to win the Raw tag team champions with Seth Rollins a year before. So that's pretty sweet. But that lovely moment doesn't last long as they drop the titles to the Revival. Damn. Different show, same results. So then the Superstar shakeup came, and then again they had Chad Gable switching brands, going from Raw to SmackDown, but for some reason they didn't bring Bobby Roode with him, so that just broke off the tag team. But nobody cared about that, so who cares? But this is where it seemed like change was coming for Chad for the better, because when we had the King of the Ring tournament, it all started with Chad facing his old partner Shelton and beating him. Then the second round came when he went to have a phenomenal match with Andrade with one of the coolest reversals to a roll-up that I've ever seen. He even tapped out Shane McMahon in the other round, but then unfortunately lost to Baron Corbin in the finals. Then Baron and Chad had their feud over to Hell in a Cell, where Baron wanted the ring announcer to refer to Chad Gable as Shorty Gable because of his height. My lord, the writing is terrible. Thankfully, Chad won in the rematch, but the momentum was just already done. And just when we thought Chad Gable couldn't dig a deeper, lower hole, somebody was like, hold my beer, we can make it worse. As after having a match with Curtis Axel, Chad went on to talk about the issues he's had with his height for years, but now he wants to embrace it. So from now on, he wants to be known as Shorty G. Who did this man piss off backstage? Seriously, I wanna know. Chad Gable has done consistent work, but yet, this is what he gets treated to. For Crown Jewel, he was then invited to this really dumb 5v5 match, which was Team Hulk Hogan versus Team Ric Flair. Sure. And Chad Gable was in front of all these top stars, and you wanna know what's so funny about this match? The fact that this match was nearly 20 minutes, and I kid you not, Chad Gable did not get tagged once throughout this whole match. What does that even tell you on how much they care about him? He was also part of Team SmackDown when it came to the Survivor Series 5v5v5, where it was Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT, but then he was the first man eliminated in 6 minutes. Great. But you wanna know what's funny about that? Is that Chad Gable lasted 3 minutes longer than Walter did, and he was NXT's first guy out. What is wrong with you, Vince? Chad was pretty much an enhancement talent afterwards, really just there to put over the other guys, and that was until he was paired with Otis. Now we're slowly reaching gold here again. He teamed up with Otis to guide him away from all the goofy stuff that he's been doing and wanted Otis to become the serious, aggressive wrestler to which Otis was for a brief time, because oh my gosh, look at the two apart. Look at these two pictures before and after Chad changed it. What did you do, Chad? But the group only really started to pick up when they started feuding with RK Bro in 2022. Their feud was such a highlight on WWE because of how fun it was, the segments, the matches. It was just making Gable just so over with the crowd as he was getting a catchphrase and his gimmick over. He even won the tag titles with Otis for a bit up until he dropped it back to RK Bro. Alpha Academy overall was one of the best acts on Raw, but unfortunately, They were just never consistent with their booking as they just mostly lost all the time. But in 2023, the group added Maxime Dupree, who was already in a faction called Maximum Male Models, a group where Maxime managed male wrestlers turning into models. They brought her in as this green rookie who was just trying to learn how to wrestle, and it made the group so popular as an act because the segments were just don't miss TV, which led to this really great and fun feud with the Viking Raiders that sadly just ended awkwardly as the Viking Raiders won for some reason, which is so dumb because why? Why did they need that win? And after that story began what should have been a beautiful start to a beautiful ending, turned into another Chad Gable what if. Folks, we're now at the Gunther chapter. Gunther at this point was one of the longest reigning Intercontinental Champions of all time. So in one segment, Gunther decided to mock on Chad and his group, which hated the group, to which Ludwig dared Chad to try and survive Gunther for just 5 minutes in the match. And Gable went on to beat the clock and survive Gunther. Yo, that's pretty sick. A great achievement for Chad. But then for some reason, Gunther had general manager power to immediately ask for a rematch and be granted it and just kill Chad Gable anyway. Okay, so what was the point? But then in a 4-way number 1 contenders match, Chad Gable would win, earning him an opportunity to face Gunther again, but this time for the Intercontinental Champion. And they decided to have that match on an episode of Raw, to which Chad Gable won! Yes! Let's go! He finally... Oh wait, it was just by count out. Damn it! I mean, technically, that's Gunther's first loss in the main roster. Don't count that one. So that's kind of an achievement for him. But since there wasn't a real definitive winner, it was time for them to settle on a rematch. But there was real stakes for this match as Gunther was not only putting his title on the line, but if he beats Gable, he will be able to surpass the Honky Tonk Man as the longest reigning IC champion of all time. How the hell they made Honky Tonk Man the man to be the longest reigning Intercontinental Championship? I will never know. But unfortunately, with those kind of high stakes and knowing how much WWE loves breaking records, aka the only reason why Roman won in WrestleMania 39, Gunther destroyed, killed, and dismantled Chad Gable in front of Chad's own freaking child. And Gunther's actions made the kid cry. Hell yeah, baby! The power is back! But with that unfortunate loss, us the fans didn't want to give up on Gable. He is determined and hungry for that championship. He is the true man to dethrone Gunther. Seriously, what could go wrong? What was that? What was that? Oh no. 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 No! I'm going to hate talking about this. So we're on the road to WrestleMania 40, and while every match was being built towards the event, Sami Zayn was having these video promo segments where he just felt directionless, lost on where he was gonna go, unknown if he will even be able to go to WrestleMania 40. And everyone and their mother was like, yes, let's do this! Let's start the Sami Zayn World Champion agenda. And then Sami had the confidence to start this agenda towards the IC Championship. What? Why? 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 That's so ridiculous. He's already been IC champion. He's never won the world champion on the main roster. And we all wanted him in the triple threat to be involved with Seth and Drew. What is this? Not this. We want this. Chad's going for the IC champion. So then they had a gauntlet match to see who faces Gunther at Mania, and this was just so poorly booked because they had Sami being 2 other guys and he's exhausted, and the final man in the match was Chad Gable, making Sami the underdog babyface towards the other underdog babyface that needed this way more. And then Sami beat Chad, and understand, I love Sami Zayn. I've always have, but come on, he's an established star already, while Chad barely gets good opportunities for himself. Why wouldn't you let him have this one, Triple H? So then they did this story where Chad would coach Sami Zayn how to beat Gunther, and they had Chad telling Sami that he didn't think he was capable of beating Gunther. And then Sami beat Gunther on his own. Well, that quote was rather pointless. So yeah, the underachiever known as Chad Gable got his WrestleMania and singles gold moment taken away from him, all because WWE didn't have a plan on what to do with Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. This company. So to offer back to Chad, Sami put his championship on the line against Chad on Raw, but unfortunately Chad lost, And with that frustration, Chad turned heel against Sami Zayn, which led to a program between the two, which led to Sami winning both pay-per-view matches while also signaling a potential breakup between Chad and Otis. They teased the breakup for several weeks, but then the breakup finally happened. Otis got a huge pop, everyone went mad crazy, and we're like, yes! Otis finally got rid of that toxic leader that Chad was becoming. Oh boy, I can't wait for that! I can't wait for Otis to get his revenge! So now you're asking yourself, how was the match? Well, I'm just gonna ask you another question.
What match?
That's right, guys. Otis broke up with Chad Gable, then Chad Gable wanted him back in the group, but Maxine, Otis, and Akira Tozawa all didn't want Chad back, and they all just moved on. What the absolute fuck? What was the point of the breakup? Oh, so Chad could be with the Creed Brothers, kind of like how Kurt Angle was with the Greatest Tag Team? Okay, sure, that's been fantasy booked with the fans for a while, but why didn't you just do the match? That's so dumb. Okay, I'm kind of lying here. They did have the match together. Only 6 months later after the breakup. Why do it when the momentum is dead? It's too late now. Why was the simple booking so hard to make? But fine, if this faction is a new project to help Chad Gable get over, Alpha! Oh wait, I forgot. Then came the debuting Wyatt Six, a group led by Uncle Howdy, aka Bo Dallas, had a faction with him go up against Chad Gable and his new group, American Made. They had a couple of fun matches together, but it was really all just to put over the Wyatt Six and nothing more. It's 2035 and we see Chad Gable put over their debut of Penta. Then we had many vignettes in which Chad went on a quest to discover the ways of Lucha Libre. And now weeks later, in comes a mysterious masked wrestler known as El Grande Americano. Oh gosh. So now we're in a story where people are trying to figure out if it's Chad Gable or not, which, it's a story that keeps Chad on TV, but like, this is not how it should have been. Chad should have been gifted the Kurt Angle level push. Even with these sides, he's able to bring the comedy and excellent wrestling all together within his gimmicks. But you could just tell that WWE never really had any long-term plan on him. Starting out as a promising top tag team act with American Alpha, then making him be solo just so the wrong teammate could be managed by Kurt Angle, making him have new tag team partners when you just didn't have anything creative for him to do. And then when you struck gold with the Gunther story, the casual David versus Goliath, the underdog babyface beating the unstoppable villain, and then you did it with the wrong guy. And then you threw all the eggs into one basket by having Chad be a heel and be with the Creed Brothers, a fantasy booking that many wrestling fans have had, only just to waste it to put over another team. Chad should be a singles champion. Oh wait, he technically is, because he is now the Speed Champion. And yeah, that is the career of Chad Gable so far. How did you feel about Chad Gable's career throughout? Or are you just as depressed as I am talking about it? Follow all my socials, like, comment, and subscribe. I make a video every single week. Voila.